Hello, welcome to this week's episode of CXNext Live. This is your host, Ryan Lester. Great to have you join us this week. For those of you joining for the first time, this is a weekly series we do focused on the world of customer experience, helping folks like you out there get a better understanding of how you build a better strategy, learn from world practitioners, address key challenges in the world of customer experience. It's great to have you on. Please feel free to ask questions throughout, post us questions afterwards. We're here to help you all out there build a better customer experience step by step and address many of the challenges that we're all facing today related to COVID-19. Many of the ways we worked has changed. As you can see, I'm here in my home office and working from home, dealing with kids, trying to deliver a great customer experience as well. So we're excited to really dig into this topic with all of you out there and really take the work we do with our customers and take the learnings we find in the market, and to really bring those to all of you. I'm really excited about our topic for today because, so much of the conversations today around challenges and, there's a lot of onus. It feels like even for myself, there's a firefight every day. And, how can we really step up and become more of a hero to our customers and to our organizations and be the change that is needed? And really, that's where we're going to spend our time today, looking at opportunities to improve customer experience by really, being that hero, being that person that's there to help along every step of the journey, and really addressing some of these changes. Once again, the way we engage with our customers and our employees has really transformed, enabling remote work, answering new policies and procedures. Much of this is kind of unknown territory for many of our teams, and we're learning and adapting on the fly. So how do we take an approach where we try to pick up more of that weight and we really try to bear more of that burden for our customers and for our employees to help them get to the outcome they need and help them get back to more normalcy, and delight them along the way. And so I'm really excited for my conversation today, and this is really a big kind of theme that we've been driving, is redefining engagement and kind of repositioning what the world of engagement looks like and what the world of customer experience looks like for your business in response to all this change. And so we're going to talk through really, what does it mean to be a hero? What does it mean to deliver hero class service? And what you should do about it. What are some things and trends and small steps you can take to really make big changes and big impact to your customers and to your employees? And that's really our topic for today. We're going to try to keep these short and sweet. We know many of you are on video all day, every day as it is. So we're going to try to keep these tight and really, structure our conversation in a way that you can leave feeling energized and feeling like you have a couple actionable steps. Joining me this week is an exciting guest, someone I've spent a lot of time with, I've done some podcasts with, and also will be joining our upcoming CXNext event on May 12th, is Adam Toporek. Adam is the president of CTS Service Solutions. He spends a lot of time working in the world of customer experience, brings a wealth of knowledge. He actually has a big anniversary coming up, and you can talk about that in a second. But Adam, I want to welcome you. Great to have you on CXNext Live.
Oh, thanks, Ryan. Great to be on CXNext Live. It's been awesome working with you these past few weeks. And as you mentioned, we have a big anniversary coming up. So this was perfect timing to have this conversation.
Yeah, that's great. And, I know you certainly, in the conversations we're having, you're seeing much of the change that's being forced on companies. There's a lot of, there's change everywhere. Everyone's trying to deal with this transformation. And I think what's interesting is, you wrote a book 5 years ago, and that's the anniversary that's coming up. So we should talk about that in a minute. But I think what you wrote is still so very applicable to many of the challenges that we're seeing in the world today.
Yeah, 100%. So, be your customers here. We're going to actually have the 5-year anniversary, as you mentioned. And one of the biggest questions I get, Ryan, is what does it mean to be a hero? That sounds very lofty, right? Do you have to have a cape? Do you have to be able to jump over a building, right? This type of stuff. And the very simple definition of what it means to be a customer's hero is to be there when your customer needs them, right? Because when we get past the Superman and Wonder Woman and all that, when we talk about our everyday heroes, right? Our frontline workers that we're talking about, right? Our firefighters, first responders, all that. What are we talking about? People that are there when people need them. And being the customer's hero might be a little less intense in those, than those examples, but the principle is the same. And what's been interesting in these times is how, the idea has shifted. So I wrote Be Your Customer's Hero for frontline workers originally. That's what the book, it's very much customer service fundamentals and skills you use face to face with employees. But this idea of, being a hero has expanded to customer experience. Like, how do we set up our journey that way? And I think what we're finding now is customers are expecting you to be a hero, so to speak, to them, and more than just to them. They're looking at different avenues, and we can talk about those a little if you want.
Yeah, that's great. Let's do that in a moment. And I think what I like most about this is that I think too often, as CX practitioners or as, business folks, we get so caught up in the process. It's like, this is how we do things, and this is the way we engage with our customers, and this is how we deliver customer service. But in reality, your customer just wants help. They're struggling to fulfill an order, or track something, understand a cancellation policy, deal with something that got lost. And they just want the answer. They want to be helped. And so what I love about this concept is, let's relieve ourselves of some of the baggage of the way we have done things, both for our frontline employees and also for managers and broader CX practitioners. Let's free ourselves from that and really focus on kind of, I like the word of being that hero, being that person that's going to step up to make that customer's day better.
Yeah, 100%. And, one of the things that's shifting is you talk about being there for them, being available. We did a little video today about that. But this idea is going past that, because right now, I think during this time of crisis that we're in, one of the things we're seeing is consumers are expecting us to not only be there for them, but to be there for our teams.
Yes.
And to also be there for the broader community. And we're seeing companies step up in different ways. I'm a loyal, I'm not flying right now, but I am a pretty loyal Delta person. And they've handled themselves very admirably, Ed Bastian and that team. I mean, they're doing a lot in multiple vectors to help people. One, for the consumers like me, they're extending the delay, the amount you can carry over, how long you can carry over, flights you have to cancel.
Yes.
They're extending medallion levels and points, all these good things. But, they're also giving free flights to medical responders. Right.
Yeah,
they're also supporting the community. We're looking at, if you start looking at chains and franchises, one of the things that we're having to look at from the standpoint of being a hero is, one of the ways to be a hero to your customers, you have to be a hero to your network.
Yes.
Right? How are you supporting all of these mom and pop stores? Or you may be a large company, Subway or whoever, right? The franchise may be a large company, but how are you supporting the individual owners and operators? And we're seeing a lot of companies are stepping up and, waiving royalties. The forced marketing spends are being pulled back. So I think we're seeing this idea of being the hero is more than just directly to the customer right now as well.
Yeah, and I really like that. And to me, throughout, over time, you look at the companies that are most successful, they build a culture, they put, employee first, they really drive that, hey, we're here as a team to go drive this forward. And you can look at, companies like Southwest Airlines and others, where it isn't just about the bottom line, and it isn't just about, hey, customer experience leads to better NPS, which leads to better, more growth and profitability. But to your point, it's how are we stepping up to lead in this trying time for all those key stakeholders? And I think that's what energizes your employees to then want to go work harder and feel empowered and feel energized to, come into work every day and work through all these challenges. And then at the same time, to your point, make sure customers feel like, this company gets it. And it's one that, I want to continue to support and put myself behind.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even if, the reality is reality. If your business is closed, your business is closed and you're not getting assistance from the government.
Yes.
Right. So, or if your business is 30% of what it once was, then you may have half the team that you had, but how are you going to support that half that's remaining?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That's the thing, right? I mean, and if you look at it across that sort of those spectrums of the customer, team, and community, I really think that customers are expecting to see that from companies. And I think companies are stepping in and doing it. There's just so many examples right now, companies that are stepping in to help the community. Scholastic, just as a sort of random example.
Yeah.
They're offering a whole free 20-day class for people to keep their children's brains occupied during this time.
Totally. Yeah. As a dad with two kids, I can Anything we can do to help keep kids occupied and educated, I'm all on board.
Exactly.
So that's great. So I'll just do a quick check-in. So for those of you that may have joined a few minutes past the top of the hour, this is CXNext Live. I'm here with Adam Toporek, and we're focused on, being that hero to your customers and your employees, and how do you deliver hero class customer service. But as we were just talking about, not just around customer service, but also stepping up to those other stakeholders like your local community, your employees, those people that really are part of your broader network. And we're going to, so Adam, I want to transition now into in the book and the way you talk about this hero class level of service. You have kind of three key main areas that companies need to focus on. And I like simple constructs. The world is complicated enough. So let's talk through those three areas of, what should companies focus on? And I think we can put this through a couple of different lenses, but what are those three things? And let's dig into them around delivering this hero level of service.
Well, yeah, thank you, Ryan. So what we're talking about is the three elements of hero class customer service or customer experience. And as we mentioned, the book's 5 years old. I would actually add a layer now, which I'll add at the end. But the three things are: meet and whenever possible, exceed expectations. Right? You don't have to have these viral worthy stories every time you serve a customer. It's not about that. Yes. But if you can meet and when possible, exceed expectations on occasion, that's perfect. Provide a hassle-free, frictionless experience. We can dig into that, but that is so important. And I would argue it just keeps increasing in importance, and the situation we're in now has just made it even more important. And here's the tough one, and particularly now, do both of the above consistently. Okay. Do both of those things. Consistency is the tough part, particularly at scale. Now, the layer I would add in, if I were to do a second edition to Be Your Customer's Hero now, is one of the things I've very focused on in the past few years is the importance of customer emotion. And I would layer in the idea of creating positive, meaningful customer emotions within that framework, using that framework to create positive, emotionally resonant moments with customers. And if we look at all three of those things, what we can see is all three, or all four, if you want to say, are being challenged now in this current environment.
Yeah, so I think that's great. And the thing I like about that too is I think too often we get caught up in those wow moments, or one or two small things, which we feel like over-index and will create better, will be the things that the customer remembers. But often what the customer remembers, or even the employee remembers, is those small things. You didn't respect my time, or I felt like this was very important to me, but seemed unimportant to you. And therefore, it leaves a bad impression with me. And so what I really like about this is it really is about that consistency of experience. And then, finding those moments of delight, but they don't have to be huge. They don't have to be monumental. They can be those small things that, wow the customer, but really weren't a whole lot of work for your organization. And so I really love that kind of consistency factor. But on the same side, or on the other side of the coin, I agree with you. And now is one of the hardest times to do it, because there is so much change, and we are dealing with so much variation in both the customer experience and their needs, and also our internal teams and the way they work. So why don't we talk about across all three, kind of how those are kind of playing out, or where there are challenges of those playing out in the current environment?
Oh, for sure. So, and to your point, Ryan, that, that's meet or whenever possible, exceed expectation. When I do keynote speeches, one of the lines I often use is this, because I tell great stories about wow moments, right?
Yes.
But then I get back to, okay, well, here, even in the title of the book is real world. I'm very focused on it has to be actionable. It has to be scalable. And here's the thing, stories do not scale. All right. Stories do not scale, but they do instruct, and we can learn principles from them to apply at scale. So this idea of meeting or possibly exceeding expectations, right now, what's happening? Expectations are it's like somebody just like threw the pixie sticks on the floor, right?
Yes.
They're just all over. And I think what organizations are having to do is figure out, what are they now? That's the first question. And the harder question is, what are they going to be 5 weeks from now, 5 months from now? We're not even going to shoot for 5 years the way things are going right now. We're going to work on 5 months, right? I mean, just forget 5 years. And so here's an example. And a lot of this, and you and I have talked about this a little bit. A lot of what we're seeing is trends that were already happening, are going to continue to happen. They're just being accelerated. So
Yes.
digital security and expectations about security and privacy were already increasing every year, right? People are more and more concerned with their digital security, more and more concerned with their privacy. Now that a greater percentage of their life is going from, non-digital to digital, I would contend you're going to see that this becomes an even bigger factor, right? Just simply by nature of the amount of time and the amount of people spending their time in digital. There, I mean,
Yeah.
and we talked. I mentioned that emotional layer. So one of the things we teach when we talk about customer emotion, when we're doing frontline training, things like that, is understanding that our brain is a survival instrument, right? It's
Yep.
there to protect us. And so right now, in a time where people are concerned, when people feel insecure, particularly when they leave the house, where do they feel secure? At home. What would be and what where how can they feel insecure at home? Not being secure digitally.
Yes. Agreed.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
So when you layer in this emotional component and you really think about digital security, not just as a technological challenge that has to be solved, but as a human challenge, right? As a set of expectations that we need to meet and to exceed, it takes on a different lens.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And you can see with trends of other things of, when there's with an uncertainty in the system of, hey, doing this, I heard this, or I had a bad experience, or, my last interaction did not go well because of a security practice. That's really hard to rebuild that trust. The way I always talk about trust is, it's like a bucket and you have a thimble to fill it, but it's very easy to tip over. And so once you tip that over and you lose that trust, it's very hard to rebuild it. And if you're in a world where you want to be engaging customers through these digital channels or through these digital experiences, to your point, it's even more important that you're over-indexing on making sure that's a secure experience, the customer feels good about it, and that there's a continued path for success.
Right. And that you're communicating the security of the
Yeah,
experience
good
as
point.
well.
Yeah,
Right. It
yeah,
can't
very
just
good
be
point.
there. They need to know and feel safe and secure in using the system.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And once again, I think these are the things that maybe in the past you would not be indexing on or not be prioritizing, and now become front and center on, once again, going back to that consistency, the message, how are you putting at ease the customer so they can focus on more important things or have more delightful experiences and less be in that kind of reptilian brain of run and fear and hide.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
100%. Exactly. Uh,
And also, go ahead, please.
no, go ahead, please.
That's what I was going to say. So we talked about that. So I wanted to then talk more about in the current world about this kind of hassle-free and frictionless. We love to use the word friction-free, removing friction, but obviously in the current environment, there's lots of friction everywhere. Long wait times, changes in channels, changes in policies. So I guess, where do you see that playing out in a challenging way? And then what are things you see companies doing well, and maybe some examples of companies doing that really well today?
Okay. Yeah, 100%. So one thing is I use the term hassle as a broad bucket because
Yep.
a lot of things go into that friction or effort, right? Customer effort we talk about. And the reason I
Yes.
use hassle is because to me, hassle is an emotional is the feeling you feel hassled. Hassle is the feeling you have when there's friction or effort, excessive effort, etc. And as
Yes.
we talked about, that emotion is important. So when we talk about customer experience, what we're always talking about is proactive, positive, emotionally resonant moments and preventing negative moments, which we have a negativity bias. That's almost more important. So
Yes.
preventing hassle is huge. Now, PwC did a study a while back, and I show this chart in my speeches. And it basically said asked people what they value most in customer experience. And up at the top right, the big cluster at the top right, out of the 5 things, 4 of them are related to hassle, efficiency, convenience, knowledgeable service, easy payment. The only one up in that top right was friendly service. So literally, I mean, if you take the inverse of all those things that people value most, it's hassle, right? Inefficiency, inconvenience.
Yes.
So this
Yes.
was, and this was before now. So here's how I would encourage people to think about this when they're looking at their customer base, when they're looking at what they're facing right now with their customers and their customer journey and how they're deploying assets and technology, is to think about the emotional state. It's not just, wait times were 30 minutes. You cannot reduce it to a number. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
wait times are 30 minutes, and they're wondering during that 30 minutes if they're ever going to get you and they're going to be evicted from their house because they can't make their payment.
Yes.
Right? That's a different lens on hassle. Okay, so
Yes.
there's just the hassle of, oh gosh, I had to wait and all this, and then there's the component of, sort of silence is deadly in a lot of cases, right?
Yes.
It's really when you have fear and uncertainty, we all know communication is what we want to do well. So I'll give you an example of a sort of fun one too, because we talked about the protecting your staff as well as serving the customers, being a hero to the customers, being a hero to the staff. My wife was called Ally Bank.
Yep.
And in the message that Ally had is, please understand, many of our, something like this, I'm paraphrasing, many of our people are working from home. Please understand if you hear crying babies or barking dogs in the background.
Yes.
Right. And it seems like sort of fun thing, sort of funny and whatever, but it's also a very smart strategy. Because this ties in with that expectations. One, there's nothing they can do about it. This is it. We have distributed teams right now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Right. But they're setting that expectation instead of somebody, this is a bank. So they're going to be working with a lot, people who can't get their PPP. Like if you go to any bank website right now, there's a message about the PPP, right?
Yes.
There's all these things, all these sort of intense and very important life things that banks are working on right now. And, if they can set that expectation ahead of time, that, okay, you are going to be hearing some crying babies and all that. It doesn't mean we're not serving you, as opposed to somebody's all stressed out. They're all worried about whatever the situation is, and they're getting help. And all of a sudden they hear a crying baby, right? Or they hear barking dogs. I think, that's the communication aspect. The other aspect of it is 100% figuring out how to use technology and deployed resources to understand where things are moving. I mean, AI is coming into the fray now. The more you can use AI this is another example. I'm just going off here. Sorry, Ryan, but this is another example of a trend line that we were all talking about for the past few years that's just accelerated. AI is going to take the simple stuff, right? The informational questions off the table so that humans can have deeper conversations about the harder challenges. Well, now that's being accelerated, right?
Yeah, and what I like that you're mentioning is a couple of things there that I want to tease out a bit further. Is one that your empathy, and we'll talk about this more, but empathy is a two-way street to me. Of as a company, you want to have empathy for your customer, but I think we're all human, so humans also have empathy. And what I like, I did a webinar last week, and I did a big disclaimer slide at the beginning, and I said I have 2 interns, and they can be highly disruptive, and I put a picture of my 2 kids. And I said, hey, if you hear some screaming in the middle of this, I'll do my best. But they tend to, the interns rule the show. But I think providing a little bit of empathy up front does a couple of things. Of one, to your point, you're saying we're trying our best, but we're all in this together. But I think what you're also signaling is that we want to help you, and the way we're helping you is changing. And it's not the changing, it's a changing because, this is unfortunately, the new world, but we're still trying to do this for your best outcome. So, we have people working from home and they're going to have kids behind them. We're still here to help you. And that person's prioritizing their job over, hanging out with their kid. But it then opens up a broader dialogue, which I think is the most important, to then say, hey, look at, we know you're used to calling into a call center and the person's very focused on you and is only a typical 5-minute wait time. If you still want to talk to a person, great. There may be a crying kid. You may have to wait 30 minutes. But by the way, you can also message us on WhatsApp or Facebook, or you can chat with us on our website, or you can use our self-service portal. So I've seen companies, just to your point, have a little bit of this upfront disclaimer, a little bit of setting the stage to help the customer understand that things are different and we're still here for you, but maybe the way we work might be a bit different. And if you feel like a better way to engage is go do self-service or chat with someone, great, that's there and there's no wait time. And so I think what I really like about this is it opens a bigger dialogue, because now once again you're going back to your word, you're approaching as a hero of I'm here to help and things are tough, but we want your best outcome at the end of this.
Yeah, 100%. And if anything you can do to do channel shifting, right, to the more efficient channel, anything you can do to communicate that is in their best interest. These are the benefits. If you go to chat, we can help you in, 1 minute as opposed to 1 hour, whatever that may
Exactly.
be.
Exactly.
And it depends on the query. I had that. I'll go back to Delta. I'm a loyal Delta person. So I
Yes.
had that like a month ago because I'm a speaker. I had all kinds of trips booked, right? And many of them were canceled. And they pretty much had, if you're not leaving in the next 72 hours, please don't call. It's just, we
Yes.
can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I did.
Exactly.
So I didn't. I was like, but I had a problem. I couldn't do it on the app. And so I was like, well, I want to deal with this because I don't want it hanging out there. I don't want to lose the money. But I didn't want to call. So I used Twitter in that case. And they responded and did well. But, that message helped me know that, okay, look, I'm not going to burden them. I don't need to. It's a month and a half from now. Right. I've got some time. So, and I think if you can have that open communication, the one thing that's sort of doubly brilliant about that ally message is, they could just say, due to COVID-19, we're experiencing higher than normal call volumes, right? The typical
exactly.
IVR speak, right? I mean, but they didn't. They made it human. And most people calling are sitting home with their kids and their dogs barking or their cats running across their keyboard. And they can relate, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's also a human connection. So, I mean, I think if you can just be more human and use technology to support being more human, I think you can really do very well in meeting and exceeding customer expectations and removing hassle.
Yeah, that's great. Let me do a quick ID here, and then we'll touch on one more topic before our time ends. But for those of you that just joined, this is CXNext Live. It's a weekly series we do focused on the world of customer experience, how you build a better strategy, learn from real-world practitioners, take some real clear, actionable steps in this crazy world of a dynamic change that we're living in today. Joining me this week is Adam Toporek. Adam is going to be speaking at our upcoming CXNext event on May 12th. And we've been talking through his book, which is 5-year anniversary, on creating hero class customer experience or customer service. Adam and I have talked through a number of different topics. He has 3 different key steps in creating that hero class service that we talked through. And there's something, Adam, that you mentioned a minute ago that I want to spend some time on as we're kind of wrapping up is this concept of, the power of AI and really, becoming more empathetic to your customer. And one thing that's interesting about some of these new technology trends with, digital channels and AI is that it starts to give you a much better sense of what your customer's core problems are. For years we've, recorded call center conversations and we'll try to pull out intents or, insights from that. But one thing that's exciting about AI is that, every interaction, whether it's on a FAQ page where someone asks a question, or it's a chat, or it's, WhatsApp messaging, or it's a chatbot, all those are providing insights on what are the core intents or what are the things your customers are, where's their hassle, where's that friction, and how can you address it better? And I think the better you understand your customer's pain and your employees' pain, obviously that's where you want to focus your time. So I think it's really great that you brought that up. And I think it's a good transition into the world of empathy of, how do we think about empathy and how does that kind of layer on top of all the things you just mentioned?
Yeah, and this is where I think melding data and technology and our own common sense can create very powerful results. I mean, if you look at one of the things I'm sure you're working on this as well is just right now the AI is trying to figure out the new intents, right? Yes. A lot of the intents have changed, so they've got to figure out the sort of where it goes from there and how to build the tree and all this stuff. So once you have the data, once you understand what customers are trying to do, you just have to apply a human lens, right? I mean, it's not too hard to read the news and understand. We've been using these banking examples that were hypothetical. They're not hypothetical. They're hypothetical because we're talking in the abstract, but millions of people are going through them, right? Because we read the news and we know what's happening. And I think if you use that, then you start looking at the journey. And one of the things, I make a few recommendations because I know we want to have some actionable steps to take away. One of the things I think every organization should do is just take their journey map and go, okay, what is different? What does the map look like now? And even if the map hasn't changed that much, it'll depend. If you're a restaurant, the map is blown up probably, right?
Agreed.
I mean, okay. So now if you're a restaurant, you had tables, you had servers. Now it's, you're walking it out to the curb and handing them a bag. at best.
Yes.
You're placing every order over the phone. So now your team has to be trained to take orders over the phone better, and there has to be a system to handle all the orders over the phone. Now, if you're an airline, maybe the map hasn't changed much. Of course, there's going to be small changes. There's going to be things specifically around COVID and notifications and operational things about like moving the points over and all that. So certainly some of it's changed, but maybe the big picture hasn't changed. The airline still flies the same way it flies. The few people that are flying are still going through pretty much the same map. The people who call the call centers or things like that are going through a fairly similar map. The only difference is when you can't see my hand, like 90% of the business was over here before. Yes. Now 90% of the business is at the call center right now for temporary, right? So it's not a question of the map changing as much as the application of the backstage. How are you deploying the resources to support the existing map? And I think one of the other things is, trying to proactively anticipate in this world where, we were sort of joking earlier, forget 5 years, we're lucky to go to 5 months.
Yes.
And, but trying to anticipate, because one of the things is you still want to keep investing in customer experience. Now, it doesn't mean you're investing tomorrow, but you still want to be looking for where is this going? Because one of the questions are going to be is how is consumer behavior going to change permanently as a result of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I think what's interesting there too is that this can become a signal to, going back to your journey map, are changes, are there going to be permanent changes in the way our customers want to engage with us and interact with us, but also in the way our employees want to work. And maybe now employees, find a preference of working from home, and, they can do those chat support sessions or those messaging sessions from their home and be just as efficient and effective instead of going, driving into a contact center each day. So I think to your point, kind of looking at that map and saying what's different, where are those kind of hassle points, as to use your word, but where are also those opportunities? And then how do we move around resources and technology and our investments to kind of align with those for the next 5 weeks, 5 months? But then are there things that we can kind of capture from that, whether it's through AI and driven insights or just hearing from our frontline employees, that could position us to be stronger coming out of this challenge?
Yeah, 100%. And if you can look at technology, not just through the lens of cost savings, which is what obviously everybody's focused on cost savings right now, as they should be. But if you can look at it through sort of a 3-pronged lens, which is, does it improve the customer experience? Does it improve the employee experience? And is it, more financially and operationally efficient, right? Does it make things better? I mean, if you can find technological solutions in your customer's journey and in your operational deployment that checks those 3 boxes, that's a huge win.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And actually, we do a bunch of research with Forrester, and we have a maturity model, and the data does show that companies that invest see both top line growth, higher NPS scores, higher CSAT scores, and also cost savings, operational efficiency, but they're additive in the sense of, as you make that customer experience better and you start to invest, your customers will become more loyal, you'll grow faster than your competitors, and you'll find those opportunities to then drive out costs that you can then choose to spend either on more technology, on better paying your employees, or on better rewarding your customers. So I think that's a very good way to look at it.
Awesome.
Well, I really enjoyed our conversation today, Adam. As always, you bring a lot of insights, and I really love, the way you talk about being a hero. And I like, kind of this little twist on the narrative of both for your customers and for your employees, because I think there is so much opportunity for that today.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, it's been. Oh. Sorry, you had a lag there. Sorry. Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me. It's awesome, and super excited for May 12th. Make sure to check us out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about it a little more in a minute. But Adam, thanks so much for joining.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Take care.
Take care. And so I want to thank all of you that joined. For those that might join late, this is our weekly CXNext series where we focus on the world of customer experience. We had Adam Toporek on, who was talking about being a hero or providing hero class service to your customers and now to your employees. He talked through a construct of 3 main steps in doing that, and he added a 4th. But really, it's around that consistency, finding those hassle points and removing them, and then doing that at scale. And I think that's really a great approach for today's world of, how do we really focus on that customer journey, what's changing, how we make a human response to that, of not just giving that generic answer, but giving an answer that's really relevant to the world we live in. So saying, hey, we know our hold times are long, our agents are doing their best. As Adam said, you may hear a kid crying in the background, but we're really here to help you and put you first, customer, as our customer. And I think that it's really critically important. So really great to have Adam here. As he mentioned, on May 12th, so in a few weeks, we'll be having our CXNext event. We moved it to virtual this year, and we're really excited for it. We have a lot of insights from folks like Adam, from many of our customers, from a number of experts we have here at LogMeIn. So please feel free to register for that event if you have not. You can find out more at CXNext.com. Yours truly will be there as well. I'm just going to be a host this year, so excited to lead us through that journey and really share some key insights around how you can redefine what engagement looks like for your business. As I mentioned, please feel free to shoot us questions and comments. We're here to help all you in this journey. We've been doing a lot of work, both within LogMeIn and with many of the solutions we bring to market, like Bold 360 and Rescue, and helping you transform how you digitally and through things like visual engagement with your customers. So feel free to shoot us questions. We'll be continuing this weekly series. And then also, we also relaunched our podcast. So feel free to check that out as well. I want to thank you all for joining. This is recorded, so feel free to share it. And we'll look for additional conversations every week here on CXNext Live. And also excited to have you join us on May 12th. Thanks so much. Please take care of yourselves and let us know how we can help you in you delivering a better customer experience. Thanks. Take care.